All right, that time has come. On my community tab on my channel, I asked if you would be interested in seeing a video where I rearrange my fragrance collection. The vast majority said yes, and some of you said maybe, but don't make it too long. I don't know how to not make this long, but I will try my best, and I'm not sure what we mean by long, even though I put it into the options. Long to me would probably be 30 minutes or more. Can I do this in 30 minutes? I can certainly edit it down to that, but let's see how I do. Slightly nervous to do this for lots of reasons, and let me just share a few of them. One is people are judgy. Like, look, I'm judgy too. So there's all this like madness on fragrance YouTube about how many bottles is too many bottles, and why don't you show your whole collection? And then you show your collection and then people criticize you because the collection's too big. You're never going to use all of those fragrances. You could use that money for other things. You know, all of that. There's 1,001 little permutations on the judgment around the size of a fragrance collection. I'll just start off by saying, in what I hope is a non-offensive way, my collection is my collection. I bought it with my own money, with the exception of a few bottles that were given to me by brands. For the vast majority, 8% plus of my collection, I purchased with my own money. It's my collection. I enjoy collecting fragrances. Other people enjoy collecting shoes, cars, tchotchkes, Yadro pieces, jewelry. Folks collect. Some people collect Pyrex. Some people collect art. Some people collect silverware. Look.
The point I'm making, in case it's lost in this late night rant, is that a perfume collection is just like any other collection. And I think it's time to just let people live. Live and let live.
So this is not a fragrance collection review. The reason I haven't done like a fragrance collection review is because collections shift. If you are a collector of anything, vinyl records, cars, motorcycles, collections change. There are things that shift into the collection and flow out of the collection. And that's the case with my fragrance collection. There's bottles that I fall in love with, I use for a certain amount of time. Something else comes along that maybe replaces that one that I really loved. And, the rotation just continues. So let's acknowledge that. What I am really hoping to do with this video, and the reason that I'm actually nervous about the judginess, but more nervous about, can I pull this off? Because I have rearranged my collection several times now. And I'll show you in the next segment, because I filmed that segment earlier today, the ways that I have done that so far. By the way, I'm that kind of person that I'm antsy and I get bored quickly. So although I like things in their place and I believe in things having a place, I like to shift things around. I like to change furniture. I like to change artwork. I just like variety. And in my fragrance collection, as you'll see in the next segment, the way things are situated now are not working. Here's the thing. I can't think about how do I want to arrange these forevermore? Like forever, ever, ever. Because that's not going to happen. Like in a year, I'll get sick of how I've arranged them today and redo it. So I think I'm just going to focus on, as we go into the fall, what is it that I want to reach for the most? And put those at eye level on these shelves and just not worry about the rest, okay? I think it's going to be messy. I'm also nervous because of the length of time that this is going to take. So for tonight, I'm just going to focus on maybe 2 shelves. I want to do a vanilla and maybe other gourmand notes like coffee and caramel shelf. And I want to do a shelf that is like my oody woody fragrances. And if I get bold, I'll move on to a 3rd shelf that is like other spicy fall, maybe ambery kinds of fragrances. And I think after that, maybe tomorrow, you'll see me in new makeup, new outfit, maybe no makeup. I'll be so tired I won't put any on. I want to do like a power florals shelf. And I don't know what else. I do think that I want to move my t-shirt fragrance kind of bottles into my closet, so that when I throw on my leggings, because that's what I'm wearing mostly on my legs these days, and my t-shirt, I'll just grab something off of the shelf there instead of having to come out here. Yada, yada, ramble. Let's get to it. So you all may remember that when I first started my channel, or rather, if you've been with me since the beginning, I filmed all of my videos like right here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to show my face on camera, so everything happened in this closet. And the collection has, of course, ballooned in size since then for lots of reasons that we can talk about another time. So I moved away from just, these two shelves, which are inside of my linen closet, and I started to put fragrances out on a shelf in my bedroom. And this is the shelf system that I'm talking about. I originally had family photos and so forth in here. We moved into this house maybe the year before I started my channel, so I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this space. Now, originally, I organized these shelves by color of fragrance bottle because that's aesthetically pleasing to me. For example, having all of my white bottles on this shelf felt really great, black on that shelf, red here, etc. You get the idea. However, the problem became that when I went to look for a fragrance that matched the way that I choose fragrance for the day, that just no longer worked out. Even though I liked to walk by and look at it, it brought me a lot of pleasure. So then I went to this system, which you see here, which is my attempt very loosely to group fragrances by type. Hello. When I think about you see my ring light and everything, how I wear fragrance for the day, typically I choose fragrance on the mood that I am in and the mood that I want my fragrance to help me be in. So I may want to smell sweet and sultry. I may want to smell sexy and va-va-voom. I may want to smell like woody and oody. I may want to have a more sophisticated vibe. I may want to have like a light fragrance vibe. It's just all over the place. So then I started to organize my shelves by that. Let me tell you what I mean. So you see up here, that top shelf is my vintage fragrance shelf, or even if the fragrance isn't in a vintage bottle or vintage formulation, it has a vintage appeal for me because I wore it back in yesteryear. Then here in this shelf, I have fragrances that I think of more as some white t-shirt kinds of fragrances or more casual fragrances, although some of those can certainly be dressed up, and that's part of the problem, that they don't all belong there. And then here I have a shelf of my woody and oody kinds of more heavy hitter fragrances. Well, most of them are heavy hitters, not all. Here is my shelf of fragrances that my husband really loves on me. So if we're having a date night or something, I'll just say, hey babe, go to that shelf and pick something that you like, and that makes it really easy, and I know that he'll like it. This one is a shelf of fragrances that are maybe more on the spicy fall side of things. Maybe they're not all spicy, but they're mixed in vanillas and spicier fragrances, although there are anomalies here that don't belong, like this 100 Silent Ways really doesn't belong on that shelf, and a few others. Down here are my more vanilla-y kinds of gourmand types of fragrances. And then down here is this hodgepodge of fragrances that could be heavy floral or heavy in something else, and I'm just not sure where to put them, but I like them. So that's been the organization of these shelves, and it has semi-worked out as the collection has grown. It's like that machine at the slots, or at the casino rather, where you drop the quarters in and the quarters then start to push out. You can win the quarters that fall over the edge. You know what I mean? So as you see, this one's stuck up here because I can't put it here or it'll fall over the edge. So I'm running out of space. The other thing that I have tried to do, and I'll show you the other shelf rationale in a minute, is I have had my dupe fragrances inspired by fragrances and fragrance oils from dupe houses, like fragrant oils and my perfumery oils and so forth. I'm trying to incorporate them into my shelves because they have really been hanging out in another spot that I'll show you in a minute. And unfortunately, that then means that I forget about them and don't reach for them as much as they deserve to be reached for. So then my rationale in here hasn't quite worked out that way, but this top shelf has been my citrus and summery citrus kinds of fragrances, or fragrances that I associate strictly with like a light, bright summer. Although here you have Flora Botanica that kind of spans seasons and others. And so it doesn't quite work out that neatly. I tried to put like my summery, more coconutty fragrances like in this area, and they've been taken over by other things. And then, softer-ish florals over there that were maybe more marshmallowy or cloudy or whatever, cloud-like. And, spanning across to some deeper florals in that section that have maybe tuberose or other strong florals, and then like a hodgepodge here. So it's just been all over the place. And as you can see, things have made their way out of order. There are fragrances all over the place that just don't belong with the others. Then you have my husband's fragrance shelf here, but a lot of these I wear too, like this Santal Blush, this Mystery Tobacco. I love all the scents of wood fragrances, Nightfall Patchouli, Sandal Ruby, etc. There's that. Then there's this other shelf of random fragrances. I don't even remember my rationale for putting these fragrances here. We see you there. I see you in there. I got you, boo. Then I have this area in my closet with these other fragrances from Dua, from Alexandria, some other hodgepodge fragrances here from Theodoros Kalatinis. And I originally put these here because of the whole, like, let your fragrances macerate thing. So they were here in the dark, in the cool environment, macerating. And then I just got to this point where I never included them with my other fragrances. I have started to do that, but I still need to do it with all of these here. And that just gives me a headache because that means that some of the ones on the shelves already are probably going to have to go, or some of these are going to have to go because they don't all fit on the shelves. And look, my one criteria here, I am not creating another shelf. I already have a whole shelf system, the two shelves in my linen closet, this area, my husband's shelf, and that other random shelf dedicated to fragrances. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to find another spot. So, and I love my fragrances, so I have to make some decisions. And then finally, the other absolute mess that I'm getting a handle on, yes, I still have tags on my stuff, is this whole section here that I have gotten way under control. It used to be a lot crazier, if you can believe that. By the way, those are backup bottles in the back. Insanity. Anyway, lots of samples that I still need to try out and just random fragrances that I'll plop around. So I've got to get a hold on this. I also have other buckets of samples all over the place. I would like to figure out how to get bottles like this Cookies and Kisses in with the regular collection so that it actually gets used. So that's where we are with the existing lack of organization. Let's see what we can figure out. I don't know that I'm going to get to a point where everything is in its rightful place, but sheesh, I've got to do better than this because I love them all and want to be able to see them all and wear them as much as possible across as many days as possible. So let's get into it. I'm already ready to give up and wishing I had never committed to this, but I'm going to try to do at least a shelf or two. I should have lit a candle and said a prayer. Let's do this.
I can't think. What am I supposed to?
Okay, so I'm going to clean off this shelf, and this is going to be, I'm going to start off with the very obvious vanilla fragrances and put those maybe here on the left, and put the other vanilla fragrances that are also other things here. And if I have room, I'm going to do caramel, toffee-ish sorts of fragrance. Do I have toffee? I don't even have toffee. Caramel chocolate fragrances. Let's see how this works out. Divine Vanille is so clearly a vanilla fragrance. I'm already exhausted. What am I doing? And I'm going to turn off this overhead light so you don't see the sun, the light shining on my big forehead. Vanilla 28, clearly vanilla. And I have a bigger bottle of this on the way, of course. Of course. I already told y'all about Whiff of a Waffle Cone on Instagram. It's smelling a little bit better, but still not what I was expecting. This is a mixture that smells like Sultan from Royal Crown. I finally got Javoy Remember Me, and I love it. One of the things I'm trying to do is to get my dupes in the regular collection. Otherwise, I forget to reach for them, and it's a dang shame because they're really good. This is Vanilla Dory, Spiritus Double Vanille, dupe, really nice. And then I have the perfume oil that I can certainly layer these two together. Not the prettiest things, but you know what? Go check out my reel on Instagram where I talk about if dupes could talk, what they would say to you.
What am I supposed to?
Fatal de Vanille, we're gonna put down here. Oh my goodness, which is like Tobacco Vanille, which is like Tobacco Vanille. I don't have the original, but those are good enough. Rich, Warm, Addictive. I thought I put this on Mercari, but it's still sitting on my shelf. Nirvana Bourbon. I don't know. See, does Shalimar count as a vanilla, or does it count as an amber? Does it count as something else? You know, this is where things are gonna get tough. Side Effect. Kind of a spicy, sexy vanilla. Here's where some decisions need to be made. For example, Libra Intense. You know, this could be considered a lot of things, but one of the things it is a strong vanilla fragrance. Do I keep it in here? I think I'm going to say yes. Just for the sake of making some decisions, definitely this one goes here. Aura, Hypnotic Poison. I'm going to go ahead and put Mon Guerlain Intense on the vanilla shelf. Even though it has other notes, it's a beautiful heavy vanilla. And I'm going to go ahead and put Mont Blanc Signature on the vanilla shelf also, even though it could be citrus, it could be musk. But so then I've made a decision to put like my tobacco vanilla alikes on this shelf too, even though they have tobacco and could go on another shelf. But let's roll with this. What am I missing? This fragrance here, I should probably not keep. You see that the Havana is worn off because it's a discontinued fragrance from Aramis called Havana that has some fruit in it and tobacco, but is it mostly vanilla? This gets so difficult. Urban vanilla, does that go here? This is a bit masculine. Let's try it here. I do still like this Nirvana bourbon. Let's hold on to it. If you remember, I went through this whole phase where I like had to collect them all. I needed them all. Oh my gosh, let me go check the other shelves. Hang on. How about Tangier Vanille from Erin? Such a pretty fragrance. Let's put you back here. You're gonna get some love. I think I'm gonna stick Yope on this shelf too. I think I have space to do some of the like chocolatey kinds of fragrances over here, chocolate and caramel, and I need to go grab those. Hang on.
What am I supposed to do? Yeah. I can't.
So like here's Honey, which is the dupe for Ani, which I got before I got the Nichane, and I'm not sure which one I like more, so I'm gonna keep them both for now. I find this one sometimes to feel a little bit intolerable in the opening rather. This one tends to be better all throughout, so let's play with these some and see what we think. But I'll put them together to remind myself that I have both. So I'm going to put all of the tobacco vanilla fragrances near each other, which are these three. This is a lot harder than I thought. So we have Lalique Le Parfum, which is gorgeous. So I'm going to put the chocolatey fragrances over yonder, over here. See, I think of this as like, this is Shalimar Souffle, or Souffle, Intense. This is in the neighborhood. It shares some aspects of like the same as Mont Blanc. So we're gonna put those together and put Lalique Le Parfum in the middle there. This is not like the neatest, prettiest thing, but I think it's more functional. That's my like challenge, that what's functional isn't necessarily like the most aesthetically pleasing, but my goal, and I have to remember that, is to use as many fragrances as possible in rotation, which I enjoy doing. I do, I promise I enjoy it. Drowning in Vanilla is also an Ani dupe. I do tend to think of By the Fireplace as probably like a smoky vanilla. It does have that chestnut, but it calms down into vanilla. So I'm wondering if it should be on this shelf. And I'm going to say yes. Facade should probably be on my vanilla shelf. I'm already like a little overwhelmed. So let me just show you what I did with this vanilla shelf for now. And then I'm going to take a break and come back to this tomorrow. Okay, so here's the vanilla shelf. I definitely have others in the collection that will probably end up here, but I think these are sort of the obvious suspects for now. And I'll find more as I go along that probably belong on this shelf. But you'll see I have a pretty sizable collection of vanillas or vanilla forward fragrances from Alexandria and from Dua, and you know, just others that are vanilla in nature. What are you? Collateral Damage and Upside Down. Okay, these are Side Effect dupes. Do I want y'all here? I think so. I think y'all should be here and not elsewhere. I wish they could talk back to me and say, yeah, this is where we want to be. Yeah, y'all. Okay, so I think this is going to be what it's going to be for tonight. I will update these as I go along tomorrow and let you know what else made it onto the shelf. For example, Kayed, this, hi, you can see me. For example, this fragrance here from Kayed is leather, but it's also like a really soft, pretty vanilla. So that could technically go there. We'll see. Okay, let's call it quits. And I need a good night's sleep, and I need to hit this again with fresh coffee in the morning. This is Editing Veronica saying, I never hit it with fresh coffee in the morning. I just got overwhelmed and stopped. So this is going to be part one, and I will film a hopefully much shorter part two in the future. Thanks so much for joining me. You all rock.